Welcome to the Love, Sex and Freedom podcast. This is where you're going to discover how to bring awakening into the body and into everyday life through powerful tantric teachings. Get ready to release, open and step into your true power. I want us to really feel the potentiality to no longer hold allegiance and devotion to the mind, and instead to hold allegiance and devotion to ourselves, to our bodies, to what's here, to the space holding that I was talking about last night. And the reason I keep saying shifting the allegiance is because it really came through strongly to do a line over my birthday. And whenever I write a syllabus, I don't really think about it. I just kind of channel it and then I go, oh, that's what I'm doing, is it? And, you know, there's a lot of background teachings to all of this. You've all been drawn into like a pretty high level. But of course, if you need more support in any of the areas I'm talking about, we've got online courses, we've got a free Tantra 101 journey, we've got podcasts, we've got all sorts of things, right? Because this is kind of like God work you ladies are up to. This is the work of death and rebirth. So I'm like, okay, why did I want to do it on my birthday? Why would I do such a stupid thing instead of just having a good time? First of all, I'm actually so stoked to be here because my biggest joy is to have an impact on people and re-educate them in these areas of life that are so fucking important. And the education system is training you to be devoted to your mind. You need to understand that. You need to understand that for majority of your life, you were trained to be devoted to the mind. That's pretty much all the education system is geared towards. It's not like we sit in classrooms and they're saying breathe, sound, feel, or, you know, is anyone being bullied at the moment? Or talking to the bullies, talking to the people who are being bullied, or how do we communicate our needs? How do we communicate our boundaries? These basic things of tuning into the body, feeling actually what's going on. How are we never taught that? So that part that Tara brought in about not beating up on yourself, it's so important. What's equally important is to know that you need a consistent commitment to rewire that conditioning every day. And that when the mind is going and you're following it and you're going on a rampage, that you notice, okay, here I am. I'm devoting all of my energy to the mind. What would happen if I let that part of me die? Again, you're going to need to let it die 1,000 times and birth something new in this moment where I drop in and allow something. Now, what I'm about to give you, I don't even know what it is, but I'm sweating and I have a rush of fire. So I know it's super important. Yeah. So listen carefully, because I'm about to support you in what always confused the fuck out of me, which was so much of what I was learning about in my earlier years of spiritual and personal development was all about expansion and affirmations and seeing the reality that I want, knowing I could get there. It was all very upper chakras. And then the Tantra school I found myself in, it was all very lower chakras, like feel everything. And when they were saying, love your anger, love your grief, love this, love that, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? If I love that, it's just going to stay. And I just couldn't get my head around it until eventually, when I kept loving what was arising, I started to see the jewels in that. And I'll talk more about that later. But I started to feel that when you love something, oh, okay, wow, if I'm just here with it and loving it, it passes, and then there's something new, right? And I also have a law degree and did articles, and I learned somatic experiencing and EFT, emotional freedom technique. So I had all of these different modalities. And then what I did for you all was to synthesize them all into the online courses and then the practitioner training, which is really the creme de la creme. And the practitioner training it has a session structure in it that I'm going to teach you now that will support you when your stuff is coming up. And this is obviously what you need to listen really carefully to. So we don't want to just feel our feelings and not bring any conscious awareness to the expansion that's possible within that. So just imagine, right? When you walk into a party, when you get home, if you've got kids and both your kids are there, when you walk into a festival, when you go to a conference, when you go into a workplace, what you notice the most, who you notice the most, is where the most energy is. It's like, everyone knows who the life of the party is. Everyone knows who the queen of the fucking office is, Everyone's like, oh, wow. And what is it about these people that capture our awareness, that capture our attention? There's a lot of aliveness. There's a lot of life force. And, it's so often that I hear from my clients, we message between sessions when people enter my deep containers and they're like, oh, I'm in a real low vibration today. I'm feeling sad. Or I'm not feeling very alive today. I'm feeling really like I just fucked all this up. I have a lot of regret about the conversation that happened yesterday. And there's this immediate assumption that when we're not feeling good, that we're low vibration or we're not alive. I'm telling you now, when I'm pissed off, everyone knows about it when they walk into the room I'm in. There's a lot of energy there. When I'm in bliss, when I'm in celebration, when I am sad. So what is it that stops your vibration from resonating with a high level of aliveness when you're feeling whatever is there? It's your judgment. And what if that energy, I'm going to go into some Tantra energetics here. What if that energy, that buzzing energy of whatever you're feeling inside is Shakti, the feminine principle, and that the space holding, the silence that it's not silence as in literal silence, but enough silence to not resist that, is just holding space for it. You're holding space in the same way you've always wanted a man to hold space, with loving presence, without agenda. Straight away in my practitioner training manual, it's one of the first things I introduce because it is the most important rule of healing and expansion, is that you as a practitioner can hold loving presence without any agenda. It's the same principle that makes you multi-orgasmic in the bedroom, to just be with what is there. And the same currents of energy that you can hold space for within yourself outside of the bedroom happens inside of the bedroom, and then you get a reflection of that in whoever you're with. Okay, so I'm going to stay with it. Here we are. Shakti with all of her energy. Shiva with a silent space holding that's not clenching the tight fist of resistance against anything. Is that really possible? Here's the key. So first, I'm actually just going to take you through very briefly my session structure so that you can experience the possibility of death and rebirth whenever your emotional body is up. So first of all, I want to make something really, really clear. And this is the gold that you all need to remember. You never, ever, ever need to change your internal experience. And no matter how many times I say this to clients that have even been working with me for years and years, it's a really hard one to embody. But right now, take your hands like this. It's 11:11. I was born at 3:33, right? You're getting a transmission right now. Receive this, receive the Shakti part, receive the magic. Bring both of your hands to your womb. Breathe into your womb. Bring both your hands here. And I want you to really weave this new imprint into the fabric of your womb and your cells. Nothing I'm experiencing inside ever needs to change. Now bring those hands to your third eye, to your crown, to your head, and back to your third eye. The only thing that needs to change is something in my consciousness which my emotions are pointing me to. Is the belief I need to rewire. And then open up your hands, and then I want you to do and move, do with your hands whatever you need to, move your body however you need to, and let's all really feel this. Nothing in my internal reality ever needs to change. Where my consciousness is directed at the time of this energy being here, that is what needs to change. Now, I'm going to give you a real life example of this. Feel this. We're going to come back to doing magic with it, but it's coming through really strong to share this. One of the strongest experiences I've had. And when I wrote this syllabus, I looked at it yesterday and it said from scarcity consciousness to the power of creation, that's what I would be teaching last night. And it didn't come in, and now I know why. And we're going to come back to doing some magic, but I feel like you need to hear this first. So this is an example of the flow I'm going to take you through. It's an example of what I'm talking about, of using your emotions to rewire. So before I do anything, when I have strong emotions, I always will invoke energies to support me. So I'm gonna take you into that when we do that. And what you have access to as part of a line is a short course called White Tantra, and it's going to teach you about gods and goddesses that you can call in to support you. And it's actually really, really helpful. So I was in Europe, I was spending an absolute fortune, and I was starting to freak out, right? I'm like, I'm spending, watching how much I'm spending. And there was this reaction in my body. And, you know, I've been working with the money thing for a while. Now, the first thing that I do is I will call in some help. I'll set an intention. I'm like, okay, this is getting to a point that my emotional body is really screaming at me that I need to look at this. I'm going to call in Ganesh, the remover of obstacles, and I'm going to call in Lakshmi, the goddess of abundance and beauty. I'm going to call Shiva in so he can hold presence. So, you know, I'm in the camper van and I'm calling them all in. And then, so this is the first stage of the session structure of the practitioner training, right? And then the second stage is to have a conversation, to have some, just to put yourself in the client's shoes, but you can do it with yourself. It's like, what's going on here? And I'm watching the mind, right? It's like, oh, wow, you're spending so much money. It's just going down. What if it runs out? What if more money doesn't keep coming in? Blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, okay, what is the main belief running here? That money is going to run out. Oh, that old chestnut. And then I can hear my mum's voice. You've always got to make sure that you've got enough money. The voice of society, invest your money, all of the conditioning around money and saving. And everything, just like, okay, I'm feeling that. What is the biggest one? There's not enough. Stop spending so much. It's going to run out. There's not enough. So I could have two choices here. This is really important. All of those thoughts, if I was believing them and if I was devoted to them and holding my allegiance to the mind, I would go off on all of that and start increasing my worry and anxiety that I was already feeling in my body, right? Because thoughts that just keep looping, just as Tara said, it just will increase what you're feeling. So I'm like, okay, I'm not following that. Coming in and feeling what's underneath this belief. And then I felt intense regret. Oh my God, been spending so much. Then I felt fear, intense fear, feeling all of that. And I'm just letting it all move through my body. And there's all of these feelings going on, and I'm crying and I'm feeling that I just want to be taken care of and I don't want to spend anything, and all of this energy, all of these feelings. And it would have been like an hour, and the body is the unconscious. So once you start letting yourself feel, and every time the mind wanted to find solutions, it was analyzing, trying to take me off, I would watch that and come back until, and this is the activation phase, right? We invoke energies to support us. We watch all the stories, we have a conversation, we let ourselves be seen, then we drop in and we activate the emotional body. We allow Shakti to experience in aliveness the full spectrum of emotions that is underneath whatever belief of scarcity you're running, or whatever your jam is at the time. Like Tara's was, oh, I'm missing my partner. And then that wasn't an issue, but the judgment of that was. And then there comes a point where you felt everything and you're no longer following the thoughts of anxiety and worry. And then you're ready to apply consciousness to a new belief that holds a whole new level of expansion in your body. And this is the integration phase. So this is where I get into, actually, the more money I spend, the more luxury that's around me, the more money I'm receiving. That belief feels way better. And actually, I've had confirmation of that belief. It's like when I booked the trip to Europe for me and Tess and the kids, I went through another process. It wasn't the same level. Every time we stretch out of the comfort zone, we're meant to feel uncomfortable. We are meant to feel uncomfortable. It's scary. It's unfamiliar, right? But what if part of the new comfort zone, because the comfort zone that everyone operates in is that as soon as they're out of their comfort zone, they avoid feeling that and they go back to all of their old habits and patterns because they can't handle the intensity of what the thoughts are running that keep spiraling them. So they'll avoid that, and they don't know how to feel the intensity of emotions. So they're so caught in the mind that they're feeling it, it's buzzing, but they're letting the mind take over, or they drop into the body and they can't actually fully feel, right? So what if the new comfort zone was that whenever you're getting out of your comfort zone and calling in more money, calling in an amazing relationship, starting to do the practices that I suggest and Tara suggests, beginning to speak up more and express more? What if the new comfort zone was that whenever you are getting out of it, you know that when you're jumping off that next cliff, it's meant to feel really difficult. Even if what you want, the conscious mind is having a party about, because the nervous system just wants to stay put. The ego wants to stay put. So what we're talking about at this next phase is we're rewiring, right? And so, what does it feel like to have the belief that the more pleasure and money I spend, the more money I receive? I already had proof of it. because while I was in Europe taking time off, I had my first 6-figure month, another trip where I had time off and having a great time and absolutely luxury choices everywhere I went. My first 50K month happened then. And so I'm like, yeah, this is fucking true. And then when we got home and when we were choosing houses, then I had the next thing that I had to face. And, you know, we've just signed up to rent a place that's $1,400 a week. And I had to feel the same thing, but I'd already done some work on that. So I'm like, the more money I spend, the more money I earn, the more I'm in a field of wealth and richness, the more that I'm inviting that in. So every process is an opportunity to take the focus off the external, to take the focus off who's right, who's wrong, to let go of the fucking story. Your ego, your comfort zone loves the story. Your growth, your evolution is always beyond the story. The story is valid, right? The story is there because you have, from the day you started school, formed an allegiance with the mind. You have devoted yourself to the mind. That is not your fault. That is the fucked up conditioning that we live in, that the mind takes priority over our aliveness, that the mind takes priority of really seeing the children that are in the classroom and really feeling them. You know what my daughter wrote to me in year 7? She wrote me a letter saying, if I stay in school, my soul is going to die. And I pulled her out of school and I homeschooled her. And that's not true for everyone. That was true for her because she couldn't feel a deep listening that she needs, that her soul needs. And how many children don't feel that deep listening? And how the fuck are we in a society where our education system is built on children who are developing and need movement, are sitting down all day and just being penetrated at their consciousness? So right now, I want everyone to go like this with their hands and feel all of that conditioning, all of that programming that has said your allegiance is with the mind. Who you are is the mind. The best thing you can do in life is to be in the mind and just push that away and say no, no more. Because that is not where happiness lies. And as a soul that's incarnated into this human experience, you have a right to feel happy. You have a right to feel in your ease. The mind will just keep you stuck in loops of worry, anxiety, scenarios, analyzing, and give you all sorts of reasons why you shouldn't step out of your comfort zone. So push all of that away. Today is my birthday, and the gift I'm giving you on my birthday, because my greatest joy, besides my children and my beloved, is to impact the world in a way that rewires this conditioning. And then bring your hands back to your womb again. And let's just all have a felt sense of actually, the more money I spend and invest in myself and invest in loving myself, the more I receive. Let's just try that belief on and see how it feels. Let's just see how that feels. Let's try the belief on that it's safe to feel good. Let's try that on. Safe to feel good. Safe to feel good. Safe to feel my pain. My new allegiance is not to the mind that hangs on to everything, that keeps telling the story over and over again, that keeps blaming someone and something outside of us, that keeps projecting savior onto something or someone outside of ourselves and says, you know what? I am a sovereign individual. I am the creator of my experience. I am a beautiful woman. And right now, my allegiance is to holding space for what's here, is to holding space for the deeper currents of my feeling body, and to re-educate myself into prioritizing aliveness. And this isn't just about feeling the pain. This is about feeling the ecstasy, and letting that guide you. It's about feeling full stop. Right? So can we have intentionality about where we place our consciousness? And instead of letting consciousness go into loops of the mind, that space holding, that silence, that Shiva, that emptiness, from that emptiness, we bring our attention to a new belief, and we have a felt sense of the body of what that new belief is. So that healing and expansion is always balanced, and we are not drowning. We're not overly identifying with our emotional body. We're here, we're holding space for it, we're feeling it. And we are consciously redirecting our awareness from placing our attention on the thoughts that keep us stuck in that. Because if you're just feeling without those thoughts, feelings actually pass quite quickly. And we're using our consciousness to enter a new state of forgiveness, of love, of freedom, of liberation. Feeling that, feeling a devotion, an allegiance to something that is beyond the loops of your mind, that goes to the depth, to the core. And this depth, this core, this is what's going to make you unique in the world. You are never, ever wasting your time when you spend time with who you really are beyond the story. Everything I bring to you that's powerful, that has impact, comes from the unique essence of my inner journeying that I didn't get from a book, that no one taught me other than the leadership that lies in here in my own being. And each of you is a leader, but let you lead yourself first by being attuned to the body, by feeling the truth of beingness that is beyond the mind, that holds an allegiance with a space that is held for every single part of you, every part of you.
Thanks for listening to the Love, Sex and Freedom podcast. For more great free resources, in-person and online workshops, and our retreats, find us on Instagram and Facebook at Embodied Awakening Academy, or visit embodiedawakeningacademy.com.